All right, first of all, we're going to start off. Guillaume is going to give us a quick 2-minute recap of the discussion in the Scalability Plus call.
Yeah, so on Tuesday we met representatives of all chains and as well as the engineers of ENF, and we discussed essentially the revised RFP that the ENF is proposing to submit. So essentially, it's a kind of toned down, like slightly smaller in scope version of the RFP that we issued, that we sent out. So they would be essentially responding to that RFP with a proposal that would address some of the elements in there. We did consult with WAX and with Telos and myself with presenting UX to see if we felt like this shortened version would still be worthwhile and would still meet our immediate goals, and the answer was yes. So we would like to formally invite that bid, and we will essentially review it later on. Okay. I don't know if anyone has questions on that. Okay.
No? Okay. One of the first actions we'll do today is we're going to hold a go, no-go vote to complete the IBC deployment this weekend. The one caveat will be WAX will not be part of this weekend's deployment, but the announcement from WAX is they will deploy as soon as is practical within their competing priorities.
Yeah, we're going to upgrade to Antelope first, and then we're going to roll that out after.
All right, let's start with EOS.
Yes, go. And sorry, and yeah, yes.
Go.
Go. And that's because I was thinking I'm going to go and push the button with Guillaume, so that's what I was thinking.
That's right.
In person.
Telos?
Yeah, that's a go from us. We're ready and on board to push the button virtually, not in person.
Okay. So UX is actually the contractor on this, so abstaining.
Yep. And we're also.
I hope so. Yes. If not, what button am I going to push with Guillaume?
I guess, sure. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There you go. Unofficial, yes. WAX?
Unofficial, yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any final items to comment on this?
Only this is awesome.
Only that we're planning to have Eve press enter after the ribbon cutting ceremony
with the machete, the ribbon cut with the machete.
That's right.
But no, to add, this is something that I think all of us on this call were expecting 5 years ago, and we've been talking about this particular item, IBC, for an eternity. And the coalition got together now a little less than a year ago formally, and within that short time span we've been able to tackle something that was on the back burner for almost 5 years, and something that's quite incremental and monumental in terms of technology for each of our respective chains. So just kudos to all of you for having made this happen. This is awesome. This is quite historic.
Well, and especially to you, Eve, for getting us all started out and aligned on this journey. And is it too corny to say that this will be one small step for a chain and a giant leap for blockchain?
And a giant leap for blockchain.
A giant leap. Where's that rim shot?
All right. Next item on the list, peer-to-peer discovery. There's just a status update. All of the participants have been notified, and we are setting up a kickoff meeting with the winners. hopefully early next week. We've already been in discussion with them. We're just going to start that. And as soon as that gets going, this will feed right into normal project management status reporting. All right. Next item, coalition top off to fund RFPs. So I believe the numbers were posted. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And there was agreement reached on those numbers. Do we need to type them in here?
We can, because I believe that this would be the first time that we, maybe not the first time, but that we publicly kind of make this official. But I would say the caveat that we're not there yet, because we're still waiting for Douglas to bring in a key piece of information that may or may not change slightly the numbers. And so maybe if everybody's comfortable, we can post the numbers, because this is recorded, everybody will see. It'll give a general idea of what it is. And then I believe each chain has agreed to that draft in theory. We've never taken a vote or anything like that, formal one, but that we're still missing that key piece of information that may slightly change the numbers.
Okay. Do we want to?
Yeah, apologies on that, by the way, guys. I lost my dad this week, and it's, there's a lot around that. So I am sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Anyway,
my sympathies to you and your family, Douglas. My condolences.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
Yes, same.
But feel free, Jeff, to post those numbers. It'll still give an idea of where we're going, what people can expect. Pretty good ballpark.
Okay. Does somebody want to list them off for me, or?
Sure, I can. So EOS is easy. It's $1 million. The next one is, and hold on, I'm just double checking. The next one is, you've got Telos on your list. So 65,522, 522 and 56 cents. The 56 cents is very important.
Okay. Gotcha.
It'll make or break us this year. Wax is 179,531, 179,531, 82 cents. And UX is the same as Telos. And for those listening, so those numbers come from the formula that we traditionally use, looking at liquidity depth as well as market cap. What we've done this time around is we've adjusted the floor. Previously, the floor was at a 3% floor, and we've increased that to a 5% floor to come up to these numbers. And the number guiding in the beginning was EOS mentioning that they'd be able to commit $1 million. So we basically, then went through the regular process to determine the numbers that you see on screen. And as I mentioned earlier, this has tentatively been agreed by every chain. We have not taken a formal vote. We're still missing some information, but generally what you're seeing on screen is pretty much what we should be committing to this year. That number, if you add all of those, gives roughly up $1.3 million. The coalition still has a little over $600,000 in its treasury. When we add both together, it is just shy of $2 million for year 2023. And also, I guess for context, Wharf SDKs, that's already in a separate account, so it's not going to take from this. Instant Finality, IBC, already paid for, separate, not taken from this. So this is for all new work yet to be allocated.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Are there any other comments on this? All right, excellent. Moving on, RAM limitation fixes. There was the idea to use the scalability meeting to discuss this. Was there anything further than that?
So it's kind of what I was explaining a bit earlier. We asked the ENF to essentially detail a little bit more what they were proposing to do, and then we reached consensus that these were essentially worthwhile, even in the reduced scope, and that we would be interested in reviewing a formal bid from the NF.
Bart, do you have any insight as to the drafting of the subset of requirements? I believe last week we said it would take a week or two. We didn't give a firm deadline, I think because we wanted to get some of this feedback from Scalability. Or maybe Ted, you're the right person to discuss.
No, I can take that one, Jeff. Yeah, we could probably get the new requirements to this group next week for this call, and I have a meeting already on the books to talk about what our proposal will also look like. So that might come at the same time, or it might come about a week later. But it shouldn't be much longer than
that. Let's see. All right, that would be what's next week, February 2nd. Okay. Moving on, Antler CDT. From what I understand from the project management side is that there, as we talked about last week, there were some resource constraint hiccups due to uncontrollable issues. The debugger component was going to be excluded. Largely, things are back on track, although at this point, our project managers are not calling it green yet. I don't know, again, Bart or Ted, if there's any flavor you want to add to that.
I do not have any additional flavor to that.
Yeah, no, that's about as flavorful as it gets.
Okay, great. It's exciting, spicy. All right, next one, Ledger app. Ted, do you want to give an update? Did we actually hear back from them?
We have all the contact information, and I have not heard back yet, but hopefully by next week.
All right. Developer onboarding, development workshops.
Had 2 meetings with OCI today. They did not bring it up. They do not have a status yet. I'm again assuming it is going to be very low priority for them in terms of them running this program. I will bring it up. We have some other work we need to do with them. And once we've completed that, and I mean, in terms of larger scope negotiations, once we've completed that, I'll bring this up again at that point.
Maybe we remove it from the agenda until something happens, because I feel like it's been quite a while and there's been no movement there. So until that happens, maybe just like, yeah.
I'm okay with that. All right, we did get some update on IBC. Is there anything on instant finality, Guillaume, that you want to propose or talk about?
So essentially, there's been a bit of back and forth between DNF engineering and myself on the IBC stuff. Instant finality stuff. So there's a few decisions that we took that are essentially pushing back a few of the milestones a little bit, but the final milestones themselves will probably not be affected, because we're kind of putting more work in the front and less in the back. So essentially, I think everything is going very well, and there's additional, I guess, like precisions about the status in the weekly cards that I fill with Adams for those that would like to get a bit more info there.
Absolutely. And again, as a reminder to anybody listening, those weekly cards are published once a month. We had a publication go out about 2 weeks ago. There will be another public posting in about a week and a half at this point. Aaron, do you want to give us an update on the SDK?
Yeah, sure. Right now, the big question is about this reprioritization. We shared the version 4 of kind of the milestones and whatnot in Telegram. We're waiting for just kind of consensus to be reached on that. The brief version of what that is that the original proposal kind of put all of the core components and lumped them together. And as development has continued, we've seen demand for one of the components to be built at a much higher priority than the other two. So this new proposed schedule reshapes the project to kind of do that. I guess on that front, we are already kind of moving faster as if this was the direction we're going, but we still do need kind of just to cement that in. We've started on the user interface elements, kind of the UAL-like side of this project. There was a brief animated GIF shared, I think it was last week, maybe early this week. But that's starting to come to life. So we kind of have the EOS.js side covered through the session kit, and the user interface is starting to come to life. So hopefully we'll start seeing some wallet integrations in the not too distant future at a very rudimentary level. And yeah, I mean, overall, things are going really well with the project. It doesn't really align with the version 3 milestones, and that's why we kind of brought the version 4 up, which it looks like you've got up right now.
I do, yeah.
It's the same hours, it's the same costs. It's just if you went into the breakdown and compared it version 3 to version 4, there's just a shifting of objectives that has happened. So I know sorry?
I was going to say, so one thing this group needs to do is, because the milestone payments in the contract are tied to the previous schedule, is this group needs to approve the change control to essentially distribute the funds slightly differently, even though the total cost is exactly the same and the end state scope is also exactly the same. Are there any questions about that? And the reason why we have to do this is because, again, there's a contract, so we can't just ignore the contract because we don't want to. We have some flexibility in the milestone statement. The way the contract is written is they're estimated. And so if this group approves the changes, that could fall under the estimation clause.
Yep. It's both the payments and then just the weekly status reports we work with the ENF to fill out. Those don't look super healthy right now just because of the way that the milestones were structured in 3, and the project, just from that quick glance perspective, would look a lot more healthy under version 4.
Just to say a word for this, the discussion around how to approach this is very much community led, and I think that we are hearing back from people what would be most useful for the developer community now. So I said in those discussions that I would speak up and in favor of this. I think it's always right to listen to your community and do what they're asking you to do. So I'd encourage us to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, I'd propose that we vote on this, reprioritization change. And if the bill passes, which I imagine it will, based on the discussions that we've had previously on this and in that specific channel, then we can make addendums to the current contract. And then when we're doing the program updates, that will also then be reflected going forward.
Okay. So I'm writing stuff down here. EOS?
Voting yes.
Okay. Telos?
Very much in support.
Telos?
Yes as well. Absolutely.
Okay. Wax?
So yes from Wax.
UX?
Yes.
All right.
So maybe then, Jeff, on our end, if, or I guess it might be Amy, if we just want to make a slight addendum to the current contract, and then I believe I'm the signatory for that contract. That way, at least that's, the legal side of things is squared off.
Sounds good.
And I guess, Aaron, you would also need to sign. It would just be initializing that change. I think it doesn't need to be a big deal.
Cool. And then I will work with Adam to get the status reports better aligned with this new trajectory.
Awesome. And then I think, as you mentioned, Aaron, it's not it's just a reprioritization. So it means that we will likely be paying for a milestone before another one, but ultimately it ends up being the exact same thing.
Yep.
So, and for everybody else, we've already allocated those funds in a separate account. So really nothing changes.
All right. Any other comments on that? Aaron, anything else you want to add today?
Not that, I mean, I could rant about this project for a long time, but not that's relevant to the larger group.
Fair enough.
If you are interested in like the minutia of what's going on, we do have the transcripts and the weekly recorded calls and the Telegram channel that's available for that kind of stuff. So happy to answer any questions.
And just good job on that, Aaron. Everybody's getting really excited about this. So kudos.
Thanks.
All right. So we are out of topics. Does anybody, we still have a half an hour.
Wow.
Does anybody have anything else you want to bring to the team today?
I may be missing out on conversations, but related to IBC, are there discussions going around about like, I know we're talking about marketing and the actual launch and the deployment of it, but like the use case, the kind of first use case afterwards, as you guys were talking last week, that's what I was thinking about is like, if it's deployed and there's no way for people to interact with it in a way that they're actually going to want to interact, is that kind of the plan right now? Is there a plan afterwards to give something to people that is tangible that they could then use, or is that up to each individual chain and not part of the coalition?
So, sure.
In the article that you and Zach worked on together, that kind of does a deep dive of IBC. If I'm not mistaken, it does talk about what you can currently do, right? Correct?
Yeah. And
that's going out today or tomorrow, I think.
And as part of the release, we did build we call it a reference front end that allows you to use the wrap-lock token construct to essentially move tokens across chains. So that's available on basically day one as well. And we recorded as well 2 podcasts. I'm not sure if they're out yet, but with Arag and the Everything Yes team, where we discuss additional use cases that could come at some point. Another thing that we've done that we kind of not done, but like we have in the works is to organize a kind of developer Q&A for IBC. So we would like to invite essentially like prominent, well-known people in the community that have either expressed interest or that have essentially achieved a certain level of technical recognition, and then have a session during which we will essentially present in technical details IBC and take any questions that people may have. We'll be recording that, and we will be, of course, sharing it with our respective communities. So the aspect I think is probably most important is to highlight is that IBC is a building block that is essentially the foundation for a lot of other applications and a lot of other use cases. And the next phase is essentially now to explain this to developers and to lead that second wave of builders that will start building applications on top of it.
one of the big reasons why Avalanche was picked by Amazon as an official partner for enterprise blockchain deployments is their subnets, which is our version of IBC. So
yeah,
maybe tying that to, maybe, I don't know, indirectly, so we're not hyping Avalanche, but this is a very, very important feature that not that many other technologies have.
At the same time, to Aaron's point, the reality is there's very little to do with it right now. This is just the beginning. And so although there are certain things that you can do, for the majority of people, they're not going to be using IBC anytime soon. Right. So I'm also cautious about overhyping. And I don't know if, Aaron, that's what you were talking about, but
Yeah.
there's only a certain amount of marketing that you can do, whereby if people start looking into it and they see there's not much there yet, you may have, shot yourself in the foot if you do it too early, too soon.
If we target our message towards builders and where it intersects with investors or community enthusiasts, talk about how this allows new things to be built. I think that will be a more clear message. It doesn't set up the wrong expectations. So I think it's mainly an issue of how we focus those community communications going forward.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this should be the focus for now. The other thing, as I mentioned, also is we have been building that AMM that is also, I guess, like nearing completion. I mean, like we have it on testnet right now. We've been testing it quite thoroughly for the last few, like couple months. So that's something that we will eventually be deploying to mainnets as well. It's going to be dictated by commercial considerations and not not necessarily the technology is already there. It just has to be launched in a way that makes sense commercially. But that might be another discussion if we want to discuss that between the chain heads, maybe on Monday. I could provide a bit of an overview there, and there might be some things you guys can do to help accelerating that timeline. So maybe we add an agenda item to the other call on Monday and we go over that.
I think that would be great. I think if we pitch this to people as a starting line, not a finish line, that will be helpful. And then as that being one of the first public uses, I think would be great. People will be excited about that. And then finally, maybe going to be who's that first useful application out there using this.
I can imagine
like what developers are gonna what tool is gonna come out and do something cool with this first.
I was gonna say, I can imagine there is maybe a push to get these wrapped tokens integrated into other applications that actually use tokens, whether it's the decentralized, like the DEXs, or the marketplaces, or like leveraging those tokens, being able to trade those tokens or use those tokens across networks would be a good target even to begin with for all the chains that have these types of services. I mean, if I want to buy an NFT on Wax, and I could transfer and wrap EOS onto Wax and then either exchange that wrapped token for Wax or use that wrapped EOS to buy an NFT, like it's like planting the seeds of those ideas in these developers' heads, being a little, look at this potential that exists now. Like, let's foster that and grow that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe Jeff, if you can add an item for Monday, and then we'll discuss that.
I do have just a clarification question. So in the payments for IBC, I believe once we push that button, we then achieve a new milestone. Correct, Guillaume?
Yes, that is basically at that point, everything is deployed and upon release of the payment, we'll also open source everything.
Gotcha. And was there one more milestone on IBC, one or two more before, or is that the final one?
Yeah,
I just don't recall, because don't we have documentation, reference, and like, aren't there a couple of other things to finalize on this?
Yes. So essentially, like the milestone for documentation is all encompassing. So it's essentially at the tail end of the project and covers the documentation for IBC plus instant finality. That's when payment is due. This being said, we already have the documentation for IBC. It's up and running at antelopeibc.io. So you can go there and you have a pretty exhaustive documentation for all of that.
And that's still being updated, correct? You're still working on that. It's not complete.
Yeah, it's gonna be a work in progress as people I guess as the project evolves and as we collect more questions for the FAQ, and of course, if anyone finds any typos or anything, it's not officially out yet, but it's been submitted for review. ENF guys were ENF marketing guys were saying that they were going to be doing a bit of proofreading and whatnot. But yeah, it's up. And regarding the other milestones, there's a few more milestones towards the end that essentially are kind of like quality of life, nice to have for IBC. One of which we actually completed way ahead of time. Like it was scheduled, I believe, for November of this year, and that's one of the decisions that we took early on to actually deliver on that one much earlier. So that's essentially what we call the light proof DB. So that one, I mean, I guess like at some point would be great if we could also get payment for that one since it's already done. But it was scheduled for like November. So I mean, it's a bit like I can shuffle things around a little bit. But it's not due technically as per the contract until November, but it's done. It's been delivered and open sourced for practical reasons because it makes everything else easier. So that's another discussion we can have maybe next week. And the other milestones related to IBCs are essentially with regards to integrating instant finality and IBC together once that's done. So that's also going to come a bit later this year.
Awesome. So I need to make sure I pay you before you show up with your machetes tomorrow, correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
But no, on that, if everybody, what would be nice, I guess, is what we can do maybe next Monday, or I'm not sure Monday, but maybe next Thursday, we can have a formal vote on release of payment. Is that okay with you, Guillaume? That way I'm back. And then
you're safe.
Well, no. It's because we'll be pushing the button over this weekend, and so in order to have a formal vote, the following meeting is the only one, and then we'd be releasing the payment. I believe it's 100% on EOS still at this stage, anyways. Yes. But because it's a tripartite or quadpartite contract, then I think having that formal vote for release of payment would be just standard operating procedure. If everybody else is comfortable with that.
You're not just going to bring a briefcase full of EOS down to Costa Rica on your trip?
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's other things I need to bring, like maple syrup or something. I don't know. So I'm not sure I have room for EOS. It might take a lot of space.
It doesn't take much space. It's very small.
And that was it. That's all I had about that. Just wanted to clarify. So maybe we each get 15 minutes back.
That sounds good.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Great call.
You guys.
Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.